In the recent video on here, Throwing Voices, we went on a journey into some of the history behind the folklore of demonic possession, and we learned how some people used that fear to their own benefit. But it's not the only example. Stories of demon possession and the lengths people have gone to escape them are scattered throughout history, and there's one more to share with you. So if you're ready, let's get started. In the late 18th century, the English city of Bristol became the location for two very public topics of conversation. First, the slave trade. Bristol had long held a key role in the transatlantic slave trade, and a number of religious groups were up in arms about it, trying to put a stop to it. That included the Society of Friends, otherwise known as the Quakers, and followers of a guy named John Wesley, the leader of a movement known as the Methodists. But these religious groups had one other obsession at the time: demonic possession. In fact, Methodist meetings played such frequent host to these sorts of outbursts and demonstrations that news of them spread far and wide throughout the region. And over time, the people in and around Bristol became really good at spotting someone who was clearly, in their minds at least, demon-possessed. Simply put, a bunch of people started believing they were experts in a topic that they'd only read about in the newspapers. And that's rarely a good way to begin a story. George Lukens was born sometime around 1743. He hailed from the nearby village of Yatton, but he bounced around the area between work as a tailor, a carrier, and a mummer, a sort of actor whose performance had a lot of similarities to mimes. And life seemed to be going pretty well for George Lukens. That is, until the winter of 1769. One night that winter, George was said to have gotten blindingly drunk at a local pub, when something inside him just snapped. He would howl like an animal, dance on burning coals, run around all over and jump onto and over things. And while he sobered up the following morning, these odd fits didn't go away. After 6 years of dealing with this condition, it finally prevented him from working as a tailor, and he was checked into a hospital. After several months there, though, they declared him to be incurable and sent him home to rest and recover. But that only reinforced George's theory about his condition. He wasn't sick. He was possessed by a demon. 7, actually, and if 7 ministers would come and pray with him, he might be healed. Within a year, his story had caught the attention of a minister named John Easterbrook, one of the most prominent religious figures in Bristol. And Easterbrook sent a message to Lukens: "Come to Bristol, and I will gather other ministers to help pray for you." And the date was set for June 13th of 1778. Friday the 13th, of course. When Easterbrook met Lukens in the vestry of his church that day, he had expected an intimate gathering. But someone had spread the word about what was going to happen. And seeing as how the entire community was obsessed with stories of demonic possession, a massive crowd showed up to watch. Easterbrook wrote about the experience later. They began singing a hymn on which the man was immediately thrown into strange agitations. His face was variously distorted, and his whole body strongly convulsed. His right hand and arm then began to shake with violence, and after some violent throes, he spake in a deep, hoarse, hollow voice, impersonating an invisible agent, calling the man to an account and upbraiding him as a tool for bringing that silly company together, said it was to no purpose, and swore by his infernal den that he would never quit his hold of him, but would torment him 1,000 times worse for making this vain attempt. 2 hours later, though, Easterbrook had won. With one final seizure and a monstrous howl, Lukens fell silent and still. The demon was gone. When the account was published in the city newspaper, it spread far and wide, and readers ate it up. But there were also a lot of people who saw it and scratched their heads. Had the Reverend Easterbrook never heard of Lukens before? The biggest, most vocal critic of all was a physician from Lukens' own home village who said it wasn't a demon and it wasn't even something medical. Lukens was an imposter, plain and simple. And the proof had been hiding right under their noses. You see, before achieving fame as a possessed man, Lukens had been an actor known for 2 specific things: his physical skills and ventriloquism. As always, folks, thanks so much for watching. Credits for today's episodes are in the description below. Of course, Lore has been a podcast since 2015 with over 350 million downloads to date. You can learn more about the show over at lorepodcast.com. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the thumbs up and then click the subscribe and the bell icons so that you don't miss future episodes. And you can also follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Just look for Lore Podcast, all one word. Click that follow button, and when you do, say hi. I like it when people say hi. And as always, thanks for listening.